r/ProRevenge.
Another mailbox story. I posted this as a reply to someone else's mailbox story. I was informed that it should be its own post, so here it is, edited slightly for clarity. This didn't start out as a quest for vengeance. We just wanted mail delivery to our house. Vengeance came as a byproduct, but it was truly delightful nonetheless. So, mailbox story time. This happened back in 1982, for the record. My folks moved to a very rural area on a gravel road. No one had previously lived here, so it was a battle just getting mail delivery in the first place. My folks went several rounds with the local postmaster. He was somewhat enamored with his own power and very much a rules to the letter kind of guy. Every I must be dotted, every T crossed, and if there's so much as a semicolon out of place you'll have to start all over again. He seemed to have made it his personal mission to make getting mail delivery to a new address as difficult as humanly possible. Ultimately, my folks managed to fill out the paperwork to his satisfaction and he begrudgingly allowed us to put up a box and receive mail delivery at our new home. Dad was extremely careful in the placement of our box and making absolutely certain his was the exact height, precise placement from the road, etc. To avoid annoying our local postmaster any more than we already had. There are, or at least were, very specific rules about rural mailboxes. Dad followed every single one. That first mailbox was perfect. The man who drove the road grader was as annoyed as the local postmaster, as he now had a new driveway to accommodate. We suspect that's why he had it out for our mailbox. After the road grader had demolished 3 of our mailboxes, Dad got pissed. Previously, he'd used the most basic design, just a post in the ground with a box on top. Now, he was motivated. Dad got a hold of a 9-foot-long section of metal pipe. It's 4 inches in diameter, outer measurement, and has 3/4-inch thick walls. I have no idea what this was originally intended for. But I know how Dad used it. He dug a hole 5.5 feet deep. He welded an upside-down tripod shape, think open umbrella, to the bottom of the pole and dropped it into the 6-foot-wide hole. Each welded-on leg was about 3 feet of some kind of rebar and there were 5 such spokes. He then dropped some huge rocks on top of the tripod shape to hold it in place. The empty spaces around the huge rocks were filled in with gravel and he dumped sand to fill in the air gaps. Then he filled the rest of the hold in with dirt and mounted the mailbox on top of the post. 3 days after Dad installed the new mailbox, we heard the road grader coming down the road. Our house is a 1/4 mile from the road, but we heard the loud clang from inside. We also heard the cursing and swearing from inside. No one went down to look until they heard the road grader drive away. When they did, the box itself was slightly dented on one side, but it was still firmly upright and functional. 3 weeks later, we received a bill from the township for a bent grader blade. It was accompanied by a letter informing us that we had caused damage to city property because our mailbox was installed incorrectly. It would need to be moved, and we were liable for a bill of a couple $1,000s worth of repairs. Here's where it becomes pro-revenge instead of petty. Recall the fact that the local postmaster was annoyed with us over our battle to get mail delivery. Mom had made a point of each time we reinstalled the mailbox, taking photographs down to the post office and having the local postmaster sign off approval of the height, placement, etc. She'd done the same with Dad's super post and had documented, signed approval of the box dated the day before the road grader had bent his blade trying to demolish the box. She submitted copies of the invoice for the grader blade, and the letter stating that the damage was our fault because our mailbox was incorrectly placed, to the post office. She also submitted copies of the official post office approval of the box to the township. The jerk of a postmaster was also quite prideful and became furious that his authority was being called into question by some podunk township. As far as he was concerned, the township wasn't questioning my parents, they were stating that his judgment was wrong. I don't know what went down between the postmaster and the township, but we received a second letter from the post office, reiterating their approval of our mailbox. We also got a formal apology from the township and noticed that the road grader's contract had been terminated because he'd lied about damage to city property. It was worded with a tone that said, "Please don't sue us because a contracted employee damaged your property." For the record, that post ad installed nearly 40 years ago is still standing. We've replaced the box on top many times. That post, however, has now wrecked 2 cars and a truck in addition to that long ago road grader.
A response to the post.
Goes to show that while a bureaucrat can make life miserable wielding paperwork, it can also be used to bury them. Document isn't just for our litigious times. Your mom was well ahead of the curve.
OP's response to this comment.
Very much agree. She taught me that when I was very young, through examples like this, and it has saved my bacon on many occasions. "Can I get that in writing?" is one of my favorite phrases.
A response to the post.
I genuinely laughed out loud. Great story. Reminds of me an urban folklore I heard a long time ago. A road construction crew kept having all of their barrels knocked over early in the morning by some asshat who drove a beater pickup truck. He would open his door and bloop 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 knock all the barrels over through the zone. After the 3rd or 4th day, the foreman filled one of the barrels with concrete. Along came Mr. Asshat, right on time. Bloop bloop smash went his door. The barrels didn't get knocked over anymore after that.
A response to this comment.
What's amazing about these stories is that the repeat offender never sees it coming, never figures out that sooner or later their targeted barrel or mailbox post will be filled with or held down by massive amounts of concrete and/or steel.
A response to the post.
One of the 2 best mailbox-based revenge stories I've read. Here's the other one. https://www.reddit.com/r/pro-revenge/comment/yon/hit_my_source equals share @medium equals iOS_app and @name equals iOSM and context equals 3.
OP's response to this comment.
I hadn't read that one before. It's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing it. Mom did the shorter, simpler version of that when my little brother was a teenager. He'd pissed some kids at school off and they decided to get vengeance by smashing our mailbox. This was before cheap surveillance cameras, so no real way to catch them. They smashed our box. Mom huffed and bought a new box. They smashed that one and Mom didn't have money for a new box, so she put out an old one that had been in the barn for about a decade. They came back and smashed that one too. So Mom put together some cash and bought a mailbox manufactured by Rubbermaid. She had lots of Rubbermaid plastic and hoped that it would bend instead of break under their baseball bats. Well, it bent all right. Apparently, it bent and forced the bat to rebound, striking the top of the pickup's door frame and bending it severely. The window would no longer close properly and the door wouldn't open on that side. Turns out the idiot had been using an aluminum bat and he was lucky he didn't kill himself. He was unlucky in that it was his mom's truck and he was forced to explain the shiny new dent in her shiny new truck. My mom considered her removal of the boy's driver's license and his requirement to work on his folks' farm until he'd paid off the damage to the truck to be sufficient punishment.
A response to the post.
I am curious as to where this is. I was employed part-time with the township for about 6 months in 1980, in Wisconsin. Here, if the township damages your mailbox, they have to replace/repair it, and they carry insurance for that. In the time I worked for them, I had to help replace 2 mailbox posts.
OP's response to this comment.
Missouri. In a township with a population of 18 that hasn't changed much since '82. The loophole being exploited here is the part where the mailbox was improperly installed. There were, I don't know if there still are, very precise rules about how far a box had to be from the road, how tall it could be, etc. We're talking about an area where, when I was a little girl, every single child on my bus route was related to my bus driver by blood except for my brother and me. Little things like regulations have never much bothered anyone around here. I'm not certain the township even had any bylaws for things that weren't covered by the laws of another group, such as the mailbox rules. They were copied verbatim from the Postal Service requirements and interpreted and applied as needed. I've come to learn that small town rules and laws cannot be compared to those used anywhere else on the planet. When the population of any given area barely reaches the double digits, things are just different. Hell, these days my family are considered longtime residents and a fixture in the community. I was recently invited to be a member of that very township board. I declined due to personal reasons. Despite this, I still barely understand how it works. There isn't a crew with employees. There's an equipment shed with a former Army grunt on contract for 40 hours a week to try and keep the road from swallowing any cars when the spring thaw hits. And there's a monthly meeting that amounts to a coffee klatch in Dan's living room down the road. I think it's every third Thursday of the month. Technically, Dan's living room is outside the township borders, but his field isn't, so he qualifies to be a member. At meetings, they decide whether the budget, with almost 50 families paying property taxes, there's usually a couple $100 left per quarter after we pay for road maintenance. We'll support needed maintenance on the building that used to be the post office, it won't, and if they should play bridge or euchre until their required 3 hours per month are used up. Sometimes, they order a new flag for the building that is no longer a post office and shell out for a few light bulbs and some toilet paper for the maintenance shed. Suffice it to say, things are different out here.